Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump.
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
Car. Roses would be.
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have,
you'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right? I want a man's coolant.
and he's like, "Oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car." And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light."
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
Is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Out Off Topic. What's up, Brad?
Not much, Andrew. Sorry to everybody for the audio in the last one where I was in the rear of your car and Andrew was in the front seat. That's what we heard.
Yeah.
Accidentally recorded it in stereo.
Yeah, well, on two separate channels. So now we're just in mono, which sounds funnier that it's in mono, but it sounds better. It'll be across your whole stereo.
Well, because we're not a four-piece band trying to make a sound that sounds like a stereo sound should sound.
Yeah, I should have done some like audio tricks with people. Hey, I'm over here. Brad's over here.
Just pass the mics back and forth.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all better. We are, however, still recording in person for most likely the last episode for a while. Not last episode for a while. Last episode in person for a while.
Yes. Yeah, we'll figure out the remote recording.
Yep.
In
Be
a
on
week or
that
so.
immediately.
Yeah, no, I kind of get the old recording studio vibes here in the basement. Like, maybe the Beatles could have recorded an album here or something.
Maybe. You definitely do have a beaded curtain doorway.
I do. I have like a carpet, like a random carpet, just like things. You need things to like absorb the sound.
Well, if you need things, there are things here. That's for sure.
Yeah. I have the failing acoustic tiles.
Yes, the drop ceiling that is dropping.
Yeah, I keep meaning to replace those, and it's like, it's really annoying to replace.
It's also annoying to replace, especially because it's not something that's like in fashion anymore. So it's not easy to get this style ceiling tile.
I actually found them. You can order them online.
Okay.
They're not terribly expensive.
I wouldn't think they would be, because you don't have like the more modern style drop
Nope.
ceiling. It's like
Stapled.
wooden strapping with tiles stapled to it.
Yeah, and they're tongue and groove. The reason why I've been kind of procrastinating is because they're definitely dusty up above them, and as soon as I pull them down, it's going to get real dusty.
I assume they're not asbestos tiles.
I'm going to play I don't know, and
Wear a mask.
no, they look like they're just like fiber.
Asbestos fiber.
No, they're definitely not. They're just like cardboard fiber stuff.
Yeah, I've never really paid attention to them until we're talking about them right now. It's definitely
Mm-hmm.
an interesting tile style. The other issue with doing it is you need to move all of this stuff out of the room,
Yes.
which is a lot of stuff. The aforementioned stuff to absorb sound.
Well, I think I'll probably just tarp everything.
Okay.
Just tape everything, because everything's pretty much on the walls. I'll just tape up the clear
The
painter's
good
strap.
news is you've hung enough interesting stuff on your walls that
Yeah.
nobody ever visually gets all the way to the ceiling. So it's fine.
Yeah. Well, then I want to throw some interior insulation in all the bays, because just make it quieter.
And more temperature controlled upstairs because there's probably a big heat loss through there.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about Andrew's future home improvement projects.
Yeah, I was just painting a picture. I've got the fake wood paneling. It's very, very 70s down here.
All it's missing is a dartboard and a pool table.
Yeah, I kind of like it though, because it's I don't know, it's just like an 80s basement, 70s, 80s basement.
The amount of things you keep throwing on the wall don't take away from the room because the room itself needs the accent pieces.
It
so
would be
works.
silly to renovate this basement.
Mm-hmm. It's a for somebody who's not in New England, it's hard to explain how basements are, but it's like halfway in between a finished and a unfinished basement.
Yeah.
So it's like they almost finished it.
Yeah, it's just a room that's my space where I can keep my stuff.
Yep.
And escape from my family.
No girls allowed. Boys clubhouse only.
That's right, exactly. Except for the cat. Cat comes down here and hangs out.
Well, yeah, it's girls of different species, I guess. Anyway, we were going to talk today about the part of your Japan trip that was scale car related,
Yeah.
as well as I'm sure some other stuff.
Yeah. Because, we might as well have all the hobby stuff down here.
We can jump into it with quick project car stuff. We had a conversation on the Discord about wheel cleaners, and everybody on the Discord was raving about Sonax, Sonax
Sure.
wheel cleaner.
I've only seen them sponsored on race cars. I didn't realize they were just like cleaning products. I thought there are other stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just a chemical company like a DuPont or something. I'm not sure. I didn't look into that. I wasn't looking to have a whole history of the company part of the podcast, but I forgot that they were sponsoring race cars, like German touring car stuff, like Mercedes-Benz and stuff. Well, that makes sense because they are a German company. But I've been borrowing your G20 as the auto off-topic Turo car, we'll call it, as you called it in the other day. And when you gave it to me to use, the front wheels were bronze, and they're supposed to be dark gray.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been hearing everybody on the podcast Discord talking about the Sonax wheel cleaner. So I ordered some to have shipped to my parents' house where I'm staying, and it got there a couple days ago, and today I decided to try it out. And I am Team Sonax now.
Okay.
I am sold.
I usually use this purple wheel super clean stuff.
Yep, this blows that away by a
Interesting.
mile. Yeah. So a couple of things that I found odd. I'm glad that my father read the packaging before I started using it, because the typical process of cleaning wheels is wet wheel, spray whatever it is on wheel, agitate wheel, and spray right off. The process with the Sonax is dry wheel, dry, cool wheel, spray product on, let sit for 3 to 5 minutes. Wait for it to turn colors. If necessary, agitate and then spray off. So the first wheel I did was the dirtiest, and I was like, I'm going to try it without agitation, and we'll see what happens. So I sprayed the stuff on, let it sit. All the white foam turned red, which they say is the chemical reaction of the cleaner and the iron oxide particles on your wheel from your metal brake pads and metal brake rotors. So whatever chemical wizardry happens, that happens. It turns red. I sprayed it off, and they got like 90% clean without touching them. Now, that wheel was incredibly dirty.
Yeah.
Like, super, super dirty. So if it hadn't been that dirty, I don't think any touching would have been required. So I went to the second wheel, and I sprayed it on, agitated it pretty much immediately with a brush, and then that was not the case. I sprayed it on, I let it sit for like a minute, then I agitated it with a brush, and then I let it sit the remainder of the time. I went like 3.5 minutes on all of them, and then I sprayed it off, and the wheel was spotless. Like, perfectly clean. The only marks on it are whatever road rash it's had from years of being on a car. No damage at all. I don't mean curb rash. I mean just like rock chips from being driven. So the stuff works really well. I would recommend agitating it anyway, just to help any stuff that's stuck in corners and whatnot. But it just breaks up everything on the wheel, and it's supposedly safe for all wheels. I don't know what kind of magic sorcery it is, but man, it works good. I was duly impressed. So I left the bottle in the trunk for you, Andrew, so you can have the rest
Cool,
of that.
I'll try it out.
Leave, because I don't think bringing half full bottles of cleaning solutions probably approved on an airplane.
Probably
So,
not.
Figure I'll
Yeah.
just leave that in the trunk. That's part of my my Turo fee for renting the car for the week. I do wish I did it earlier in the week so I could have driven a clean car all week, but what a dummy.
Yeah, I think what happens a lot, too, is I'll wash it, and then I don't drive it, and then next time I drive it, the brakes are rusty, so they just throw more dust on there.
That could be it, too.
And those pads are they shouldn't dust too much, but there's a lot of rust buildup from all the metal from the track days I did, so
Well, thankfully, also your wheels are dark colored anyway, so they don't
Yeah.
look super dirty at first until whatever's on them rusts.
They're also a rough cast, so it like sticks.
Yep, it's harder to clean too.
The-
Which also made me more impressed with the
Yeah.
Sonex cleaner because it did a really good job.
The white braids are a lot easier to clean because it's a smooth paint.
They're easier to clean, but they look dirty faster.
Yeah.
The trade-off. You
Yeah.
gotta clean them more. But this stuff would probably work really well on the white braids too. Clean them up real nice. Supposedly it's safe for chrome, painted, bare aluminum, everything. There's nothing in it that supposedly will damage any
Weird.
materials.
No acid.
It says to not do it on a hot wheel.
Okay.
So I don't know why you'd be cleaning your toy cars, but
Oh. Huh. You'll see yourself out.
listen, I'm only repeating that joke that my father made when we were reading it earlier, and so
Oh, that's a dad joke.
everybody has to laugh at my secondhand dad joke. I thought it was funny, probably because I'm also a dad. It's fine. Anyway, but yeah, no, I was very, very impressed with that stuff. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Would recommend buying a second bottle of it to be shipped to my house in Phoenix now.
Yeah, I don't think I even talked about. We kind of touched a little bit on the Volvo, the engines together.
We discussed that.
Did I talk about? I don't think I talked about getting the intakes. I have intakes coming.
We didn't talk about. We talked a little bit about the carburetors. No, we talked about it. We talked about the length of them last week. So you're
Oh,
good.
right.
We talked about
We
that.
did. I have the Weavers.
The
dual
secret,
Weavers
the
here.
secret sauce here is that we're having a hard time remembering what we talked about in last week's episode. What you don't know
was
until I
last
tell you
night.
right now is that we literally recorded that 24 hours ago.
It was late. It was late. I'm
It was
tired.
late after a work day, so I get it. Yeah, you're getting this the second day, but we're probably releasing it in a week, so
Yeah.
we forgot.
I
It's
didn't
been a
talk
week.
about. I have wheels coming for that. I got some.
That was not discussed,
I guess they're Revolution wheels.
which is super cool because I think I recommended Revolutions, and then you found a used set that was already in the country.
I can't find that style. Like they must not make it anymore. It's like a 5-spoke.
It's a 5-spoke with like a dished spoke, right?
Yeah, but then there's another company that they look like that. That they're like MTLs or something. But the back of these have pictures in the listing, and they say Revolution in them. It's
Okay.
weird.
Or it's just an out-of-print Revolution wheel. We'll have to look them up, figure it out. Revolution makes cool wheels. A lot of like Ford Escort guys run Revolution.
Because I was trying to figure out. They don't seem to have center caps. I was trying to figure out what center caps I get for them.
Is it just a flat center? Can you put like a disc in there?
No, it would be the small, like 60 millimeter or whatever.
Yeah, you
Center
could,
one.
you could just put like a disc in it though. It doesn't need to be like a big pokey outy center cap.
Yeah, but they had ones that have like the Revolution logo. It's like a
Right.
British flag and a checkered flag.
Yeah, I'm sure you just measure it and buy the correct ones.
And the paint looks kind of beat up. I was wondering if I should like throw some like citrus strip on them, just stripping down a bare aluminum, just leave them bare, like bare cast aluminum.
I guess it depends on what they look like when you get them.
Yeah.
Because it's good sometimes to have a used wheel for a car with a bit of a patina on the paint.
Yeah, because it'll match
Because
the
it kind
car.
of blends the whole thing together.
Because the G20 wheels have a ton of patina on them. They just kind of go with the car. It
Yep.
doesn't.
It's why I never redid the wheels on the brown Corolla either, because the brown Corolla is like 17 different colors, and the gold wheels have some damage on them, but it all fits the age of the car, so it works.
I just wanted something different than the factory steels and the alloys look. I couldn't actually find any Volvos with pictures of them, these wheels on them. I remember seeing them though. Like I couldn't. Google searching wasn't doing it, but I know I've seen this wheel on a P1800.
Interesting. I'll have to do my own search later. Remind me to do that, see if I can find anything.
But they're definitely off of 140 because I feel like I did see the guy trying to sell them in one of the groups, and then he had them on eBay. And I did like the eBay like offer thing, like from some ridiculous lowball, and then came back with some middle number.
Sure. Hey, it's still cheaper than buying a full set of brand new wheels.
Yeah. The other thing was, they're a few $100 less than ATS cups that apparently are not being made currently. So
I also don't like ATS cups unless
think
they
they're
have
awesome.
black details, and you don't like the black details.
I
in
like the
cups.
silver. Black
Yeah.
detail wheels look terrible with a polished face. Looks awful
On a modern car, yes.
on every wheel. Looks
On
terrible.
those old wheels, it looks fine
Terrible.
because it's more of a
Terrible,
detail
terrible,
thing.
terrible.
Agree to disagree.
I don't even like black spokes polished lip. I think that's too stark.
Yeah, I generally don't like that either.
Ideally, the other choice was if I could find a set of the 5-spoke American Racing that would fit it with the bottle spoke shape. That would have been cool.
The ones like on my Camaro.
Yes.
Yeah, they're
Because there's
out of my
pictures
head now.
in period, like the IPD car that they had as their shop car
ran
ran
those
those.
spokes.
And then the other choice would have been a Mini Light, but I wanted the Mini Light with the really fat spoke and the wide center.
Like the ones I found finally for my Colt.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the old school style.
Those are hard to find, unfortunately.
Yeah, because interestingly, we've talked about it. The car was at the VTL wheel shop, like they were going to
VTO.
use it.
Yeah.
VTO, like they were going to use it, but ironically, I don't like VTO wheels.
Well, the problem with VTO and VTO as a wheel, they make a decent wheel.
There's nothing wrong with the wheel; it's the design that I
The
don't
style isn't exact because we are period correct snobs, and the VTO wheels are nice, but they look modern.
like. Yeah, probably because they're made with modern.
They just look modern. They just have a slight
I
the change from what they're supposed to look like to what they do look like is just enough. That's not quite there.
think on an older '60s car that has like sporting intentions like this, the rough cast looks cool, like what you have on the Colt.
That's why I have what I have on the Colt, and the ones that I picked up for the other Colt are very similar.
Yeah. So that's, I got that stuff. And I think I talked about having the exhaust, and I'm going to try to work on it a little bit tomorrow. I have to do the brakes on the Volkswagen. Maybe I talked about that.
I think you said it was upcoming. There's not much to talk about because you haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the rears, you can look at the rear rotors. It's interesting. Like the top quarter of the rotor is not getting swept by the pads anymore.
interesting.
So hopefully those calipers aren't seized on me.
Or you just need rotors because they're just warped or just used beyond use.
I have pads and rotors. I have 4-wheel brake
Yeah,
job.
Good.
So I'm just going to do that tomorrow.
Good. I can't escape car life because I used my father's car yesterday
Yeah.
to go for a ride, and that was overheating. So his Miata is overheating on the highway. So obviously it's not something. It's an old problem. He didn't know when I took the car, but it's annoying. So now he has to figure that out. I'll keep you all updated on that. But I'm flying out of here in a couple of days, so I'm not around to help sort that one out. But not sure what happened. We were driving it. We took a cruise up the coast, and we drove it on like Route 1 and Route 1A, and it was mostly okay. But then coming back on 95 at like a sustained 65, 70 miles an hour, the car was overheating pretty heavily. It reminds me a lot of my Colt.
So it's not an airflow issue.
It's not airflow, but it could be some kind of blockage in the
Yeah.
coolant system.
Yeah, because at that point the fans should not be running.
Correct. And the AC wasn't on.
Yeah,
Or worst case scenario, which hopefully it's not, is the head gasket.
yeah.
Because that can cause the hot spots and cause temperature to go up. So it's not blowing smoke. It seems to be running okay. When it was warm, it wasn't running 100%, but I'm sure it's because the computer was changing things because of the temperature of the engine. But
Yeah.
when I noticed it was getting hot, I'd shut it off, and we shut it off a few times on the way home. So hopefully that gets sorted out pretty quickly. I'm sure it's not a head gasket. I'm hoping it's just something he can flush the coolant out and get it flowing again and be fine. So that's step number one. He said he's going to get some of that stuff you mix in there and get it up to operating temperature and then change the fluids. So hopefully that does the job. So fingers crossed it's not worse than that. But the car was fine otherwise. I mean, it needs a little bit of maintenance things, but overall it's a Miata, so they just run, right?
Oh yeah, that was the thing. Maybe I talked about it. I picked up an aluminum radiator for the Volvo from the Volvo parts people that
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Well, it was less expensive than their brass replacement ones, and I was like, I'm not doing a restoration here, so
Nope.
I don't
It's
care
a bit of a mild hot rod.
Yeah,
so.
I don't care if it's brass. It was like $200 cheaper than one of their brass ones.
And it probably work just as good, if not actually better.
Yeah, they said I might have to trim the tabs a little bit to make the overflow fit, but
No big deal.
they this company VP Auto Parts has been pretty good, but they have like offices in like North Carolina, and then they import stuff from Sweden. So they like have vendors like make stuff for them for these old Volvos.
What's
which is kinda
wild
cool.
to me, as somebody who's spent his entire life with like Colts and whatnot,
Yeah,
is that you have a car from the same era.
yeah,
It's the same basic style of car, like small 4-cylinder rear-wheel drive, solid axle, 4-speed car, but you can buy parts.
Yeah.
Like, and not just replacement tie rods. Like, you can buy cool hot rod parts off the shelf.
Yeah.
And that is enviable, I think,
Well,
as a Colt owner.
They made a lot of them. They're very popular in the home country where they made them. And they used all like 5 models from like the 60s used basically the same engine.
Yeah, that helps a lot, too. A lot of the shared mechanical
It's
parts.
like it was either a B18 or a B20, and they used all the same stuff.
But even that's the same with the Mitsubishi stuff, because there's only like 3 different engines they made over the years,
Yeah.
and stuff's all interchangeable. I mean, the situation isn't dire, obviously, with a Colt. There are enough people out there, and the cars were beloved in other countries, and there are some things available, but it's wild that you just have, like, not only are things available, you have like catalogs. It's like having a Mustang or a Camaro. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
parts you can just buy.
Or a British car.
Or that's probably a better analogy, like an MG or something like that. But
Yeah.
even an MG is just such a beloved car. You expect that to be available. I just didn't expect it with a Volvo, and it's both good and bad. It's good because the parts are available. It's bad because they all cost retail.
Yeah.
But it's cool that they're available, and I'm into that. So it makes me kind of want a Volvo. I'm not going to buy a Volvo, but I wouldn't turn one down based on what I've learned now. I've always liked that. I've always been Volvo curious, I guess you could say. I'd probably, if I were to buy a Volvo right now,
One of the earlier ones.
if I buy a Volvo right now, there'd probably be a later one, like an 850 wagon or something.
Okay.
So I kind of want a 5-cylinder car again. But anyway, going back to your car, it's one of those things that I never thought about. I never thought about parts availability with them. I figured it would be similar to old Mitsubishi, or even to a lesser degree old Toyota ownership. Like, even the Corolla doesn't have everything I need. Like, I can't get a windshield for a stupid car.
Yeah. No, it should be a pretty cool car when it's done. Hopefully in the next month or so it'll at least be running.
You threw down a date in the garage the other night.
Yeah. I've been going to the Marblehead Cruise-ins, so the second one is this coming Tuesday, but the next one will be the second Tuesday probably in July. So I'd like to bring it to that, which is just it's next town over, so it's a good little run for it.
But now you've put that date into
Yeah.
the public. Now you have to make it happen.
I'm gonna try. I would like to drive the car this summer. So and plus it's taking up space in the garage, and we have other stuff to do. I'd like to get the engine in the car and moved. We need to move it onto the lift, put the engine in it, and then we're gonna put it back in the spot where it is, and fiddle with it and get it to idle and run. And then once we're good, because I still have to clean like the gas tank and stuff. In the meantime, once this car's got the engine in it and stuff's out of the way, my dad and I need to work on my mom's Beetle and at least do the front brake conversion and fix it, because it has like to move that car, it doesn't want to move. One of the drums is locked up. So
Okay, that's a 4-wheel drum car right now. And you can
yeah, and it's a nice car to drive, but yeah, the brakes are like really bad. You're like, how did they sell this car in '79 with 4 drum brakes
sure
and no
that's
power brakes
Definitely pretty late for 4-drum brakes in a normal passenger car.
and no power booster?
We were standing in the garage the other day, and I was looking at her car and the size of it next to your Volvo.
Yeah,
And your Volvo is a much bigger car,
yeah.
even though the Volvo's not a big car.
It was
But then we're looking in the back of the garage.
sold at the same time.
Your dad has this 1938 Buick, which is my favorite car your dad owns. I love that car. Just throwing my hat in the ring to buy it when he's ready to sell it.
Sure.
But, I love that car. Anyway, but also thinking of the fact that you could go to the dealership in 1938, essentially, and buy a Beetle or that Buick.
You couldn't really buy them in 38.
You couldn't buy it, but the Beetle existed. They were
Yeah.
starting to exist.
They existed. They didn't actually sell them until after the war, but
But there were moments in okay. Let me rephrase.
but
that.
the design comes from that
the
period.
design comes from the era. So there was a time when it was normal to see a 38 Buick on the road and a brand new Beetle on the road as normal everyday cars.
Yeah, big pontoon fenders was the thing.
But they're so different in like every single way. The Beetle is almost a spaceship compared to
Not really.
not technology wise, but like looks wise. Like it doesn't I don't know. It's maybe because the Beetle was made for so many years, mostly unchanged with minor changes. I think of it as a more modern car. But it just something about it blew my mind next to that 38 Buick, knowing that it was designed
Well-
in the same period that 38 Buick was available.
Yeah,
It was the first ones available in the States. It was probably 10 years later.
49, I think. 49,
So 48,
50.
49, something like that.
So, and then, so the design date's to like 38,
Yeah.
39, and then, they basically just use the running gear for wartime stuff, and then they used them, they started doing the factory after. But yeah, so it was like designed at the time when the Buick would have been like at the height of its design.
Sure.
But yeah, it is weird, right? Because you could drive this car from the late or early 50s all the way till the late 70s. That looks like it was out of the
Or the 2000s if you're in Mexico or
Yeah.
other countries.
and it looks like it was out of the 30s.
But size-wise, you could park that entire car inside the interior of the 38 Buick.
Yeah,
The 38 Buick is so big.
yeah, but it meets the styling brief at the time, which was the Airstream stuff.
No, it's very Art Deco almost.
But it was the streamlining stuff. And then that was the other thing. When I was at the Toyota Museum, they had a whole section on streamlined cars, and like a couple of the Citroens were like really cool looking. They had
Chrysler
really
Airflow.
They had really slanted noses with the headlights hidden behind the grill.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was something about it was mind-boggling to think of the fact that, like, the Volkswagen was designed when the Buick was a normal car,
Yep.
and then the Volkswagen was a staple on the roads at the same time that Volvo was.
Yeah.
And it just seems like there's a lifetime of changes in between the Buick and the Volvo, and the Beetle was just there soldiering along the whole time.
But then you had like the Amazon looks more like the Volvo Amazon looks more like a 30s car.
yeah, more like I'd say like a 40s car, but yeah, it does. And they made them up until the early 60s, right?
Yeah, and then
So-
that's when the 140 started to take over. That was
Yeah.
more of a 3-box sedan.
I don't know. I guess when you really think back to the history of the automobile, 1938 is only like really 30 years into production cars. Like there were cars in the late 1800s, early 1900s, but like
Yeah.
it was more normal. Like cars were only around for 30 years. Like that's the difference between right now and 1995. Like
Yeah.
so.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. So when that car came out, so like yeah, the G20 is a 1995, right?
Yeah.
So that car, 30 years of technology, has got us where we are today. The Buick was 30 years or so of production car technology to where it was.
Yeah.
But then the Beetle just was like, oh, here I am. I'm going to stay the same until 2005.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it's funny because then that G20 doesn't feel like a 30-year-old car.
No, I mean, it looks like a 30-year-old car
Yeah.
because it's so small and like compact. But when you're driving the car, it doesn't drive like a 30-year-old car.
That's only happened like recently too, right? Because we were driving 90s cars up to like daily, up to like 10,
Sure.
15 years ago. And then all of a sudden now everything's really big.
Yeah, 10 years ago probably was a switch over. Around here anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I still see at least one, I would guess, G20 a day on the road in
Yeah,
Phoenix.
everything older than 2010 now is kind of like anything older than 2010 is really old around here for a daily driver for
Yeah,
a
because
normal
of the
person.
rust. Yeah. It's
So-
a little different out there. I still see like plastic paneled Saturns in daily use out there. I mean, occasionally out there, I'll see a guy in like my Corolla wagon body style that just is an old guy still driving it.
Weird.
Yeah, that's because cars don't rust there though, so it's a big difference.
You know what? Actually, the other night, I was going to pick up Marco down the street here. And it was Wednesday night, so somebody was probably going on a cruise night. But they had like a 62 Corvette. And it was coming out on the side streets. Gorgeous, like black with the silver scallop.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Cove.
wow. Yeah, the Cove. And I was like, wow. It's like, I haven't seen one in a while because I haven't been to like a cruise night or something. Or I haven't. And you're like, in a sea of like all modern traffic, like they really do stand out. Like,
Oh, of
it's
course.
like a stunning car.
Especially something like that.
Yeah.
I was behind like a 57 or a 56 in Phoenix not that long ago, Corvette with the top down. And what's more stunning about it is you definitely don't sit in that car.
No, you're like
You
above the
sit
windshield
on
almost.
that car.
Yeah.
And they have low back seats, and the seat back is probably 2.5 feet. It's not even probably 3 feet tall. So this guy's entire shoulders and half of his back is just like up exposed at the back of the car, and you can just looking at it, it just looks dangerous. And it's weird
Yeah.
to say that, but it did. It was strange. I know it is, but
Yeah.
it just obviously looked it.
Yeah. And then I don't know what all these people are doing that had Model Ts. I don't know what you're doing with them. Can't use them anymore.
You say that.
Where can you drive them? In town only.
In town only, but it doesn't take much to make them do 55 miles an hour, and you can go on the highway. So I was up in New Hampshire at your place last weekend,
Yeah.
and I was driving home, and we stopped at the 104 diner.
Yep.
And we were on 104, and we were pulling into the diner and coming the other way. They were all mass plated. There were 6 or 7 Model A's in a row, like bone stock, skinny tired Model A's, heading up 104, scooting along 65, 70 miles an hour. And I was like, that's the life. And that's when I was like, I want to buy Tony's Buick. I want to be those people
Okay.
driving around an almost 100-year-old car. I want to drive it across country, 55 miles an hour the whole way, all back roads, across the country in this giant behemoth car. And that's what, that moment I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So super cool. Like I saw them driving and I was jealous of their experience. I was like, it's cool that because those cars are 100 years old.
Yeah.
When the Model A came out in what, 24, 25, 23? I don't know Model A years. Somewhere around there. It's 100 years ago. It's cool to think a car has been driving on public roads and is still able to be driven at quick enough speeds to be driven. And like climbing up Route 104 is not. Things would struggle. You would think 'cause it's hills and ups and downs but there are enough modifications people have made to these cars that they can just drive them. So, and not any modifications like hot rods and big blocks. I mean, like gearing changes and maybe some newer materials in the brakes and tires from what they used to be, but they're still functioning. And I think that I kind of want that in my life, 100-year-old or almost 100-year-old car just to drive and just be like, yeah, this car is 100.
Yeah. My dad and I got added to some email list. He met some guy through one of the car clubs up in that area, Lakes region. There's a group of people that have like older, like a lot of pre-60s stuff that they hang out with. They meet up on Saturdays.
Yeah, I don't know.
Might have been what you were seeing.
These are all mass-plated cars, though, too. So who knows? Listen, I'm not abandoning my 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s like core. I kind of want to have something like dumb old, just because of the gimmick of it, and to appreciate the history of it, and just to be like, this is what people just did.
Well, they'll be cheap soon.
Hopefully not too soon, but I think that having something like that would be a rad thing to just, not only for my own doing, but just for the joy of other people seeing it. Like, it's cool to see 100-year-old car driving down the road, and maybe not everybody would love it. Maybe you would be annoyed that you're driving out in this slow, cantankerous thing that's perceiving to be in their way, but I don't care. I want to do it. It seems like a fun idea. I drive slow enough cars anyway. It's probably not much slower than a 78 Colt.
So actually on the local news, maybe last Monday morning, they do like a Made in Mass segment. I think it was this past weekend. They had like a show in Framingham for just cars made in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Because
there were a lot.
Yeah, they were explaining.
Pre-war especially.
They were explaining there was a lot, and this guy restored, they think it's the only one left. It was like a Bay State Motor Cars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, looks like a Model A type vehicle.
Sure.
And he restored it from, they had to make some parts, they had to track down parts.
What did this used to look like? I don't know. Make it look like anything, and nobody will know if you're right or wrong.
Yeah, everybody's going to constantly ask you if it's a Model A or something.
Yep.
I
mean, up into the 60s, Chevy had a factory in Massachusetts.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Well, even over in Somerville Assembly Square, they had Ford. I think it was a Ford factory. That's why it's called Assembly Square.
100%.
So yeah, it's
now it's because you assemble Legos there.
Yeah. If that mass show wasn't all the way out in Framingham on a rainy Saturday, maybe I would have gone. But
that was for the Made in Mass cars.
Yeah.
Still cool. But it's Saturday in Massachusetts this year, so it's going to
I meant to tell your dad about this because the guy like literally just restored it, and they were talking about it on the news. They're like, it's not quite roadworthy yet, but I'll have it ready for the show. Like that should be like a Mistlewood car.
Yeah, you should get in touch with that guy for sure.
Because it's like a it was like a concourse restoration of this thing.
And especially built in Mass, would be really cool to
Yeah.
have at the Massachusetts Concourse.
But
So
I don't know if your dad watches Channel 5, but
I don't know what news channel he watches.
I can send it to him.
Yeah, like a Chronicle thing or something.
No, it was just like a segment they do in the morning news.
Interesting. I'm sure you could find him if he doesn't already know who he is.
There's probably a YouTube clip of it. I'll send it to him after this podcast while I'm thinking of it.
Because there was a guy at one of his year's shows that had a made in Massachusetts electric car,
Yeah.
like from the 1910s or whatever. So that was operable and roadworthy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
he must be doing Mistlewood, right?
my father?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mr. Woods happened this year.
Do you know the dates?
Nope. Terrible hype man.
Yeah.
I know that this Sunday, which when you hear this will be last Sunday, is the Mistlewood Cars and Coffee.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So you can go to that actually on Sunday. That's not a invite only or anything like that. It's in July. I tell you that. July 2025, Mistlewood.
Yeah, it is.
Are you looking it up on your phone right now? Perfect, because I don't have to.
Yeah. But now you got to talk about something
I can tell you October 25th, not in Massachusetts, in Arizona, is the official date of the second annual Arizona Rising Sun Rally. That's
All right.
the pre-2005 Japanese car road rally
Mhm.
that I started last year. So, and Mistlewood is July 20th,
Yep.
2025.
Yep.
So-
There's also
Coming up in a few weeks.
we have another friend that does. It's just a regular car show. It's in Beverly.
Oh, the Beverly Police Car Show? Is that what it was?
Yes.
That's also in July this year?
Nope. Sunday, September 28th.
Oh, that's way off.
Yeah, but I want to.
We'll
talk
remind
about
that one, yeah.
Yeah.
October 25th, that is the day of the Rising Sun Rally. And then July 20th in Massachusetts is the Mistlewood Concord Elegance that my father runs every year, which I think is in its 16th year this year, which is
What?
wild to think about. Yeah,
16 years?
yeah, something like that.
No. It would be like 10, 12 years?
Nope,
Can't
more
be
than
si-
that.
Can't be 16
It
years.
can be,
I don't
Andrew.
believe it.
What year was 16 years ago, Andrew?
What year was 16 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Would have been
2009.
2009.
Yeah,
Oh,
not that long ago.
okay.
16 years, not that long ago. Turns out, it was
No.
a minute ago.
Wasn't this? No.
Yes.
I know it's true, but I don't want to believe it.
I believe it's 16th annual because the 10th annual was a few years ago. Maybe I'm wrong. My father can yell
No.
at us when
No.
I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the 16th annual Concord Elegance at Mistlewood
No.
Estate at Endicott College. So, yeah, go to that. But be a spectator there. It's a good time. I unfortunately will not be there this year. I haven't been in a few years. I should probably.
Yeah, there's no Nefer this year again.
Nope.
They were gonna do. They were talking about a different Errol Woods rally that got canceled.
Fizzled out.
Right around that time of year is they're doing where they do the Drift Appalachia. They're doing an American Toge version of it, hill climb.
Okay.
So
Whereabouts?
That's way down in West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of cool. I don't think I'll get there this year, but sometime I'll try to get there. But
It'd be a cool one to go to for sure.
this definitely feels like
Okay. I was off. It's not the
Okay.
16th year.
no.
It's the 15th year.
Oh, jeez.
So I was way off.
2010?
Yeah, 2010 was the first one. So this is the 15th year.
Wow.
And we definitely went in 2010. So
Yeah, this doesn't feel like it's that old.
well, when you step back and you think about the first NEFR, New England Forest Rally that we went to was probably 2000, 2001,
2002.
2002. And we were going to that for years before Mistlewood started. And then Mistlewood started, and it was always the same weekend as New
Yeah.
England Forest Rally. So I had to leave New England Forest Rally usually either Saturday night or like stupid early Sunday morning to go to Mistlewood. So
Yeah. You know what we're doing in 2 weeks is
2 weeks or 15 years? Are you sure?
nope,
Do you know
in,
anymore?
in 2 weeks. Yeah, I don't know. Time is a construct. In 2 weeks we're taking the whole family, we're going to Lime Rock Park because they're running the NASCAR trucks there.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Have they done that before?
Nope.
Very cool.
So that should be interesting. And it's good because they moved I've talked about this, they moved the race.
The New Hampshire race.
New Hampshire race from July to September.
Mhm.
And that is a cup race. That is a playoff race.
Which is cool.
Which, maybe it's the same weekend as that other car show, but we'll find out. I
What
don't
show's
remember. The Beverly Police Car Show.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
see.
they could be excused for missing that to go to NASCAR.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anyway, the whole point of this episode was to talk about hobby shops in Japan.
Yes.
Main topic.
So I was thinking about this last night. One of the best hobby shops I've been to recently was the one in Orlando we went to. Was it Colonial?
Colonial
Yeah.
Colonial Photo and Hobby.
Colonial, yeah. So it was cool because it had a bunch of camera stuff and a bunch of hobby stuff. I think they had RC too. They had
Yeah, they had some airplane stuff at least. I don't think they had RC cars.
I think they did.
Did they?
Yeah.
That predates our new entry back into the RC hobby, so I don't know.
Yeah, but they had a lot of good model kits.
Trains.
So, yeah, I was like, well, if I'm going to Japan, that's where a lot of the model kits I love come from. Even if they're not made in Japan, they're companies that
They distributed from Japan.
Yeah. Tamaya has their headquarters is in Shinjuoka, which you can go. They have a museum there. I just didn't have time. That's another thing I'm like, that's going on the next list. I'd make time to go there. I think you make an appointment and you go into their museum. They have like a museum in their headquarters,
That's
like corporate
pretty
headquarters.
rad. Yeah.
Some people do go there. And
Tamaya is like our favorite model
Yeah.
/ RC
So-
company of all time.
Tamaya, I've always said Tamaya. Some people say Tamiya.
Tamiya.
But about a year ago, they opened a factory store in Tokyo. And I was like, I definitely want to go to that.
100%.
So that was like within the first few days, I was like, I don't know when we have time. Like, let's go there. But before we went there, we went to the Akihabara area of Tokyo, which is like the area with all the shops and like the video game stuff.
Big touristy area. For
Big
sure.
touristy area. That's where you see like one of the areas. There's several areas where people ride the Mario Kart things, but that's one of the
Okay.
areas that locals don't really love. That it's kind of a dumb,
Yeah,
kitschy
that
thing.
seems.
Feels real kitschy and weird, and I don't think I'd do it. And
Yeah, it seems like something that is almost.
they're actually not Mario Karts. They're like,
Yeah, they're generic.
yeah, it's really weird and silly.
Yeah,
but-
it seems like I don't know. I wouldn't do it either.
So I went to. There's a bunch of these multiple level department stores, and one of the ones I really liked. There's like the real touristy one, which is Don Quixote. There's a bunch of them that people go to, and they have just all the kitschy stuff. You can get like snacks and all kinds of stuff, and T-shirts and luggage, and they do have a little toy section, so they have like Tomikas and stuff like that. But in this other area, I wanted to go to a Bic camera because I wanted to buy a lens for the new camera I bought. Because you can buy
Bic,
stuff,
like the pens.
yeah. Because you can buy stuff cheap there's no tax. For foreigners, you show them your passport, you don't have to pay tax.
Okay, that's cool.
Which sounds like they're looking into changing because they're having such an influx of tourists.
Wholesalers going over there and buying things without tax.
I don't think so because you're limited to what you can bring back.
Yeah, I guess.
But like I bought an Olympus Micro Four Thirds camera to travel with. 'Cause it's smaller, basically the size of an Olympus old film camera, just a little more compact. And the lens had just come out for that. So the way that sensor works, if you put a 25 millimeter, I think it's 25 on there, it's basically equivalent of a 50 on a 35 millimeter camera.
Okay.
With the way the sensors work. So that lens, like if I bought it through B&H, which is my normal place I buy stuff, it was around like $450, $500. And this is all pre-tariff, of course. Over there, it was like $325.
Okay, that's a significant savings.
I was like, yes, thank you.
That's like 25% off.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
No tax. I was like, yep, I'll take that.
Yep.
So that store has like multiple levels. So you go upstairs, there's like a toy area ish, but they had like all kinds of Legos, video games. They had a section with some Tamiya micro 4-wheel drives are huge. So that whole section with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They had a section with Tamiya model kits, Aoshima model kits, Fujimi's, paint stuff. It's funny because they have signs like, you cannot bring the paints back on the plane.
Right.
Not that the paint was not that much cheaper anyways, but it's like, yeah, I know I can get the paint at home, so it's not a big deal. In fact, I didn't buy any model kits because I have too many, and they're not.
I probably bought one model kit just so you build it. Be like, I bought this in Japan.
Yeah,
that's cool.
They're not that hard to get, so.
No, they're very easy to get here.
So I was like, whatever. This is just cool to see it all. And basically, there was a bunch of stores like that. Every city we went to, I tried to find like the Bic camera, and then there was another store. It was like Eon. They also, the one we went to in Hiroshima had a really cool, I think it was Hiroshima, had a really cool section because they had a bunch of train stuff. So if you're really into trains, like model trains are huge over there too.
Yeah, the Japanese love model trains.
Yep.
They have some pretty elaborate, like public setups to check out too. I think if you don't look for them,
they had some cool, huge section of Tamiya kits, Aoshima kits. I'm not sure actually if Tamiya owns Aoshima, maybe, because it seemed like there was a lot of Tamiya kits and a lot of Aoshima kits.
Aoshima Bunzukai or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not related to Tamiya.
Interesting.
Pla model or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. So that was really cool. Oh, I kind of got off track talking about Akihabara, but basically I did that in every city. I would find those stores and just kind of browse through them and just see the different stuff.
Sure.
And it kind of varied depending on the size. I mean, they're all decently sized stores, but it kind of varied what they had. But some had more tools, some had more paint stuff. Of course, there's tons of Gundam stuff. That's all huge there.
Gundam stuff is popping up in weird places here. Like you can buy Gundam model kits at Barnes and Noble now.
It's really big. There's other hobby shops that just specialize in Gundam stuff if you go there. So you can find hobby shops that specialize in just model kits and RC, and you can also find ones that specialize in Gundam stuff. So, but let's go back to Akihabara. There is the it's a Tam Tam store, so it's got 2 floors, so it's in a building. That's the other thing you have to think about when you're in Japan. You have to think in 3 dimensions. So when you're looking for something, it may be the storefront.
Above you?
The storefront may be above you. It also may be below you. There could
Okay.
be some really cool stuff way down in a subway station.
Random.
It's just making use of all the space. So we went inside this Tam Tam store that had 2 floors. One was like all die casts and model kits.
Tam Tam is a store with a little bear logo.
Nope. It's just Tam Tam.
Interesting.
It's like blue. It kind of looks like a Gunsanyo or a Mr. Hobby label. That's what it looks like the blue and yellow. And there's a couple of around, but I went to the one in Akihabara. And yeah, the first floor was, I think, all model kits and had some cool RC stuff. And then the second floor, or I'm confusing the floors now because I went to so many, but one or the other had all model kits, and one was like RC stuff, and then one had die casts, and one had like a ton of Ignition models. Ignition 118.
This sounds like heaven. What's an Ignition 118 scale go for over there?
I would have to look back at my pictures because I don't remember. But
I'm genuinely curious because
I could have sworn I sent you pictures of the Starion one that I saw, but maybe not because I didn't want to have to buy it.
I don't think you
carry it
did.
around.
Yeah. I don't think you did.
I was really looking for an Ignition Primera G20, like a P10, but I
Sure.
didn't see any.
Do they make one?
They do.
No.
I was trying to find
Problem
an
is,
expensive
Ignition
one.
models here are $300 to $400. They're not cheap.
I don't think they were that expensive there.
But I wound up getting the one of the Cressida for like $150.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if that was really the true normal price over there.
But there was like a ton of 164 scale stuff. But, and I just wasn't, I was like, I have so many, I don't need to buy any over here.
Sure. That said, I see a couple that you purchased over there, but that's okay.
I did,
Yeah.
1 or 2. I ended up with 1 or 2. So that store was really cool.
Determined that was a lie.
Yeah. Really good prices on things. I didn't end up buying anything there. because it was early in the trip, and I was like, I want to. And then the same day, nearby, we went over to the Tamaya factory store, which was super cool.
Yep, I want to see that pretty badly.
They have like a coffee shop in there. It's only like, and actually, you know what? I'm annoyed because what they had in there when we went was like some lame new Toyota thing. And now, you follow them on Instagram, they swapped out the real car display they have in there. It's a Tyrrell 6-wheeler. I was like, oh.
P34 or whatever. That's really
So
super cool.
they have Tamaya model kits, military kits, RC kits, all through the store. And then in the back part, they have a mini four-wheel drive track. You can like buy a mini four-wheel drive, and then you can race it on the track.
Okay.
And I was like, I have to buy something here just to say I bought something at this store. So
And it came in a cool bag.
it did. So it must be up to the store's discretion, because this store, Tamaya store, probably because they have so much high end stuff, they did not let you do tax free. So, and I could have bought it's a new kit, came out this spring or early, came out like February, March, I think. It's fairly recent, is the Next Gen Fighter, the DTO4 chassis,
Yep.
buggy. And I was like, that's cool because it's not that expensive. I can buy it. It'll be a fun runner. You can bash with it.
It'd be a good thing also
And
for Marco to learn.
Yeah, and it's new, so all the parts will be available.
For a
And
while,
It's
yeah.
built. Yeah, it's built to be sturdy. It's a brand new chassis. They're going to support it for a while. So, I was like, I could have got it for maybe like a few, some yen cheaper elsewhere. I definitely could have, but I wanted to buy it at the Tamaya store to say I bought it there. And I got that cool bag with it. And they had good prices on, I bought like a Sport Tune 540 that I'll use in something, I don't know. And then I haven't seen it anywhere before, was a dirt tuned motor.
Yep.
But it's not like a dirt tune 540. It's like, it has like more of a competition style. Like the top of the bell is different, right? Where you can replace the brushes and stuff.
Sure, it's a serviceable motor.
Yeah, and it comes with like a little foam cap to go over it to protect it from dirt, which is kind of cool. And then like, of course, they had the ball bearing kit for that, so I bought that. I bought a bunch of stickers, a couple shirts. They have like,
And you gave me some stickers, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
in one section, I mean, it was just like overwhelming, the amount of stuff. Like one section had like pull out like shelves. You like pull the shelf out, and there was all like hop up parts, like everything.
So it's heaven.
It was amazing. That was kind of like all the ones I did early on in the trip. I ended up buying another suitcase and car. So like really, yeah, this kit was like cheaper than it was in the U.S. because it turns out they don't come with speed controllers.
In the U.S., they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're like almost $50 cheaper without speed controller.
Because they're lacking a $50 part.
Yeah, but then I had to buy a suitcase to bring them home, and then I lugged them all around and paid money to move the thing.
It is what it is.
YOLO. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. You're not going to do it every week.
Honestly, if I go back to Japan, I'll just bring the suitcase that I have now.
Sure. What you'll do is you'll pack your clothes in your
I'll
suitcase.
plan it now that I know. I'll do all my shopping like the last week.
You'll pack all your clothes in a suitcase, and then pack that suitcase inside an empty, larger suitcase. So when you come home, you have the larger suitcase
Yeah.
to put all the stuff in.
You can fit. So I bought a suitcase at this Don Quixote store. I bought the cheapest suitcase that was like carry-on or check size. You can fit 2 good size Tamaya RC boxes in it on either
Perfect.
half.
Because you bought 2
I bought 2.
RC cars. So it
So-
worked out.
Yeah, then we were like kind of going all around, and there's some chains of RC places, and when we ended up in Osaka, I was like, I think there was, I feel like I was like, I remember looking one up in my list, so I like looked it up, and there's one called Super Raijan, and it was literally like on the other side of the block from the hotel that I picked, and I was like, yes,
Perfect.
So Stephanie and Marco were tired, so they went and chilled out. I was like, well, I'm gonna go walk over there. So I walked over there with my backpack. I had folded up my Tamaya giant bag I bought from Tamaya.
So now you're unsupervised in a hobby shop in Japan.
So it's 2 floors again, but the one floor is all retail, and the other floor is tracks. They have an indoor tracks, like drift tracks.
So you built your RC car.
Mini Z.
Yeah.
They had really good prices on RC stuff, and I was worried because I'll get to it. I wanted to get to the Blockhead store, and I wanted to get one that was signed by the artist.
Jun Watanabe.
Yeah, but they had on Instagram, they're like, "Oh, we just got some restock, and we don't show if we have enough." And I was like, I don't want to wait till the end of the trip and not be able to get it. So I bought a Blockhead Motors Hotshot 2 at the Super Rajan because it was a really good price.
Sure.
And then I'm happy that Tamaya puts pictures on the boxes, like, because I wanted the ball bearings, so I like pointed the picture. The guy's like, "Oh," so he like went and looked. They didn't have it on the shelf, but he grabbed another worker there, and they took 2 bearing kits and gave them to me.
Made one out of
to
2.
make the one.
Yep.
I was like, cool. But that store was amazing. I think I sent you pictures of it.
You did.
They had stacks of Tamaya bodies, stacks of all kind of bodies, tons of
RC car
kits.
bodies, not human bodies.
Yeah, RC car bodies.
Of course.
The aisles had to be at least, I would say, 50 feet long.
Okay.
Like 2 or 3 aisles that were 50 feet long of all RC accessories. I was showing you last night. I bought touring car Watanabe wheels
For less than $4.
Yes, to match.
Crazy.
I have a Premier body for my front wheel drive chassis that
Correct.
I build into
So you can build a G20.
a G20.
Yep.
Yeah, because I had been looking for that style of wheel, but to import them, they're like sort of cheap. But then the shipping from like China was
They
like
want to be
insane.
like $35.
Yeah, so I was like, yes. That was a super, super cool store. They had like a mini Z track, drift track, a ton of train stuff. It was funny because the guy wanted, they charge you for bags everywhere, right? Because they don't want plastic bags everywhere.
Yep.
And I had the big RC box, and he's like pointing to like a bag. And I was like, "Oh no!" And I like pulled out of my backpack the Tamaya bags. Like, "Oh, Tamaya!"
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
You know what's up.
Yeah, it's funny because like, you know, you go to, wasn't a lot of places are like I was saying, they're really overrun with tourism, but these super, and a lot of the car stuff is, but the super niche like hobby stuff is not. So
Right.
when a Gaijin, a white guy, shows up, they're like kind of cool with it. They're like, "Oh, this is cool.
This
like,
is different.
Yeah.
We'll
So-
figure this out.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure when you finish building the kit that you tag the store in their Instagram post. I'm sure they have Instagram.
Yeah. So
That'd be cool.
yeah, that was Super Rajan, and there's this chain like those. That's a really, really cool hobby shop. Like these are just not like any hobby shops I've ever seen here in the United States.
No. We have a couple really good ones for model car stuff, but for RC stuff, there's not much good.
Everything is overrun with Traxxas
Yeah.
in the United States.
Yeah. Too much tracks and stuff.
Which
We have a racetrack, a big dirt track in Phoenix. That's got a decent selection
I'm
of
shocked
stuff.
there's no indoor because it could run year round because of the heat.
The dirt track's indoor.
Yeah, but I'm also surprised there's no on-road indoor because on-road is a big thing
Yeah. That's what I want.
because there's different styles of chassis you can run on-road.
Also, I want to run rally cars on the dirt track.
I'm surprised there's no rally car class
That's what I want. That's
'Cause-
the RC I want.
because some do it.
I've been watching some Instagram like content of RC 110th rally stuff, and a lot of them are using the dirt tracks. So I think it's just a matter of like getting it in front of the right people who have the dirt tracks to know that there's some crowd that might want to do this, because I'd totally be into that.
I've also seen people do it in like dirt parking lots, but you like kind of run along the side.
Yeah, I
of
don't
the car
want to
a
do that
little
one.
bit. No,
I don't know, maybe. I'm not trying to combine physical activity with my RC cars.
I like the idea too of like people do the rock crawls. You just go out for a hike and you just walk with your truck.
That I'm into, but I don't want to do it by myself. So I'd need to find like,
At least 3 or 4 people, so it's not weird.
it's still weird, but it's
It
less
is a little weird. Yeah,
It's less weird.
these guys in New Hampshire do it. I found a group that's like New Hampshire crawlers, and I haven't I'm like,
Well, we follow a couple guys on Instagram that are right in Salem, Massachusetts that have crawlers. You got to
Yeah.
find those guys.
Yeah.
Because, after doing a little bit of internet stalking on their Instagram page, they're also like 40-something dudes with like families and kids, and they go out together and
Yeah.
RC cars.
Yeah.
So they're like probably normal-ish.
Yeah.
So that's the key, is finding people you can hang out with. So I really think that rally car thing could be a thing, and that's what I'd love to do. Plus, all those dirt tracks already exist.
Yeah.
Have like a scale-looking rally cars that run the dirt tracks.
Yeah. It's just
So,
basically a rally cross.
essentially, yeah.
So
I'd be totally into that. I'd 100% build a car for that in like a second.
yeah, that Super Rajan, super awesome. That's definitely on the list if you're going to Japan as a hobby RC
Enthusiast.
model car enthusiast. So Super Rajan is just there was no model kits. It's just RC and trains.
Mm-hmm.
There are like other hobby shops that just do models too. Like
Sure. Well, but just like here, there's
Yeah.
a specialized thing for everything.
I didn't get to one in every town, but that we went to, but that was like one of the better ones. And then towards the end of the trip, we were back in Tokyo, and we went to it's in Shibuya near the Parco. It's this big sort of shopping mall. That's the thing in Japan. It is these incredible historic, ancient things, and then the most insane shopping you've ever seen in your entire life.
All mixed together.
Yeah, well, certain parts are just like super commercial. So like kind of near where that Shibuya crossing is, the crush of people crossing that you see.
You see all the pictures of like the super wide sidewalk.
Yeah, so like just like a block up from there, actually just beyond the Tower Records that exists still, which I went inside, which was a weird throwback.
Sure.
But anyway, there is they just opened it. It was like a pop-up, and now it's permanent, but the Blockhead Motors has a little stand inside this mall.
Okay,
Just
so it's
kind of
almost like a
open stand.
center of the mall stand. Like we have
Yeah,
here.
but like pretty big. So I went there first, and it's funny. They were all like excited to see like a
American.
Gaijin.
Well, it's neat is you follow their Instagram page. Anytime somebody visits, they usually take a picture with them
Yeah.
and post it on their Instagram page. So
and-
that's super ugly. Were you on there?
Yeah, I was not.
Yeah.
I was a little.
I don't know what happened there.
Moon Eyes didn't either. I was a little like slighted.
Yeah.
But I was like, I asked the woman that worked there. I was like, oh, so what's, through the translator app, which is useful than Google Translate app. I was like, what do you have that's exclusive
for here.
for here? Which they do. They had like a couple hats that were only sold at the Tokyo store, T-shirts. That stuff kind of rotates. They had some decals that they were only selling at that store, which again is kind of that streetwear sort of mentality. But
Whatever supports the cool thing. And it's not like
It's not-
true streetwear because you're not buying it for like the hype to resell it and get it for
no,
somebody
I want it
else.
because I want it.
Right.
And then it's
Or
like,
because I wanted it. You bought it for me too.
and it wasn't. There wasn't that many people there because it's not a super popular thing. It's super super niche.
Yeah.
Which feels cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because that little area was cool, and I got some cool stuff from them. Because then I took Marco upstairs, the Nintendo stores upstairs.
Very cool.
That was insane. Like just
Yeah, because that's
crushed
the
with people.
opposite of niche.
Yeah. But so that was like a couple days, and then
I mean, let's
Yeah.
talk about the blockhead thing
Yeah.
because, yeah, it's super niche, but it's popular enough in Japan that they have a pop-up store in
Yeah.
a busy mall.
yeah,
And what blockhead is, as near as I can tell, and I'm not 100% clear on it, is it's just this one guy started it, that Jun Watanabe, who is an artist, like a graphic artist, and he liked RC cars, so he made stickers for RC cars.
yeah,
That seems to be what it started as. And it's pretty much all it still is, but he also makes stickers for like your real car or whatever, and
there's a lot of skate culture too, and bike culture in it.
he's big on bicycles for sure. Because they have their like fancy
Bike to RC.
bicycles and they bike to RC is their hashtag, right? But he started independent of Tamiya, just as a fan of Tamiya things and modifying Tamiya things. But Tamiya took notice, and now you can buy, like you said, the Blockhead Motors edition
Yeah,
of a couple of the Tamiya kits, which is, I mean, it's got to be a dream come true for somebody like that who is a fan of this company, for someone to recognize his work and do a collaboration with him. Like, that's rad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then a couple days later, and then you know what? I forgot, this is a little extra bonus. I forgot to talk about this in the last episode. The same day, my last day was a Friday, I went to the newly opened at the time. This
Oh, yeah, you heard about
a couple
this.
weeks ago. It was the Kaiichi Toshiya G Base, which is
Drift King.
yeah. So his like little coffee shop storefront coffee shop like
Streetwear.
display. Yeah, basically. I mean, that's probably, they were like, hey, you got to get in on this. This is what, and like I showed up and I think they were surprised. Maybe I was like one of the first Americans to show up there because it was only open like, it'd been open for like a week.
Probably.
And like I was there first, like right when it opened because it was a little bit far out to try to get to, especially without a car. It was tricky, but I made it. This couple from Texas like showed up like 20 minutes after I was there, and they were like all about it. They were like, this guy was going to like, he was trying to go to every car thing.
Right.
He was trying to go to like Spoon Sports and all that stuff. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that next time. Like,
Sure.
I had a family with me. We had to do other stuff.
Do you remember who it was? A name or anything?
I don't. I didn't know him. I didn't know him from anywhere. So
'Cause I know somebody who was in Japan that week who was from Texas.
I don't think it was
So-
him.
Okay.
But
Toyota Corolla guy.
no. But this was cool. They had the Drift King's actual 8086, the one with the
With the green carbon fiber
green
hood.
carbon fiber hood.
Yep.
I put pictures of it. They had a black, I think it was Tech Arts.
Tech Arts,
All
yep.
carbon one. Then the purple
Purple
one.
Tech Arts.
Yeah, which I bought the diecast there because it was
Sure.
cool. I bought a Kaiichi Toshiya shirt,
Which
a
you,
streetwear.
as one does. I would have too.
I believe, I feel like they said on Instagram, or maybe that's where I got it from, one of the posts. I think his daughter is the one that runs the cafe, so she made me an espresso.
That's cool. Weird little connection.
Yeah.
It's so funny to like.
Everywhere has like a little coffee shop too, like put a coffee shop in. But a lot of these coffee shops don't open till like 9 or 10 in the morning. It's so weird.
It's funny to me too because we grew up like we were never the typical like we didn't fanboy over, pop stars or movie stars or anything like that. But like this random race car driver from the 1980s in Japan, we fanboyed over this guy
Best Motoring.
because of Best Motoring. But here it is, 30 years after Best Motoring started, or 40 years probably.
And they still do it.
They still do it, but he now is opening a shop selling T-shirts to people like you
Yeah.
who grew up fanboying him in America. Like,
Yeah.
I bet, go back to 1998 when they're making those videos, they never thought that would happen.
Well, the guy was like, how do you know? I was like, well, Instagram and Best Motoring. He's like, oh.
How do you know? I know. If I know, I know. Okay?
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Yeah. So
How
then
do I know? He's my hero, okay? I don't even drift. He's my hero.
So then from there, it was kind of in that sort of north of Tokyo area. I mean, this was really tricky. I was really sweating it out because I had to make a flight and I was trying to get to all these places.
When you were sending me messages that day, I was like, how is he pulling this off?
I made
I'd
it.
be stressed.
I made it. It was the first like hot day too.
It's not like you miss a flight to America from Japan. It's like, I'll just book the next one in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's like the next day.
Yeah. So and that was the day too. I was like, it really messed me up because they wouldn't forward the luggage. I had to go back to the hotel,
Right.
which was in Tokyo Bay, to get my luggage.
To go back to the hotel, to go back to the airport.
Because had this worked out better, I would have had the luggage already at the airport. And from
Correct.
when I got to Blockhead Motors, the original store, I would have just gone. It was actually on the side. It was actually closer to the Narita airport where I needed to go. I had to backtrack an hour to get my luggage.
Incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I was super annoyed.
Thankfully, you didn't have like an 11 a.m. flight.
So, just while I'm on this topic, I left Blockhead. I'll talk about the store. I walked out. I was trying to find a cab like through the Uber app, and finally, like it was all of a sudden. I was like, "Oh, you're right. It was accepted." It was like they're in here, and I like turned, and there was a cab like right there. I was in not an area with a lot of cabs.
Just happened to catch
And I
it
was like,
right.
yes. And this woman, she drove me to the hotel, and I told her I had an airport flight because she was kind of trying to asked me and talked to me, and she's like, "When is it?" And I was like, "Not till later, like it's like 6 p.m." She's like, "Oh, okay." She was very worried. And then I got to the hotel, I got my stuff, and I'm at the hotel. It was like an hour ride, and I was like to the airport. I'm like trying to get like an Uber Black, like a van, so I can like, chill. They have those Toyota
High Ace,
they're not High Ace, they're
Light Ace.
Nope. They're very fancy Toyota vans.
Oh,
Maybe
the
it's,
ones that are like basically like a Lexus.
Yeah. What? Oh my gosh, what are they called?
Something. I know what you're talking about, but I
There's
can't.
so many of them.
I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah, but they're always black and like they have captain chairs. And I was like, oh, I'll just ride one of those for an hour and like chill. Couldn't get one. I was like, oh. So finally I was like switched it to just like a taxi. And the person who accepted it was her. She had left.
Oh, random.
She had left and she was like just like taking a break, and then she came
Japan, notoriously small place with not many people in it, of course.
Yeah.
Like, what are the chances?
And
like
then-
there's so many people there and so many cabs.
Yeah, and then
That'd be like getting
but-
the same cabbie twice in New York.
well, the problem was we were way out where like Tokyo Disney is, like out in the bay.
Sure. But I would still think that would be busy. It's Disney.
Yeah, well, it was extra busy because Disney's Star Wars celebration. So there's a
Okay.
lot of people sucking up all the cabs.
Nonetheless, your new cab driver best friend.
Yeah, so she hustled me back to the airport like 20 over the speed limit.
All right. All
She
right.
got a good tip. Got there in time.
20 kilometers an hour over?
Yeah.
That's only like 12 miles an hour over. It's fine.
Well, when it's 80, she's doing like 100.
Yeah, it's crazy. I like it.
So anyway, yeah, there's a Blockwood store. It's like Chibu or something in that area.
Chibu sounds right.
It's up. You have to go up the steep set of stairs. It's on, of course, it's on the second floor. So again, when you're in Japan, remember that stuff can be above or below you. It's not always on the street.
I've seen many pictures of the staircase.
And
it
you
has
gotta-
the years and the
Yeah.
release years and the names of all the Tamaya
Yeah,
cars on the stairway.
He's got a sandwich board sign. That's the only thing. So it's got if you don't see it, you can miss it and go right by the building.
Interesting.
So you go up the stairs. It's really tiny, but it's cool. It kind of looks like this basement the way it's set up with all the stuff around.
So when I talked about my new workbench
Yeah.
in the podcast last week, the inspiration to do a wooden topped workbench for my RC stuff was from Blockhead's pictures on
Yeah.
their Instagram.
So yeah, if you follow the Instagram, you've seen the pictures of the store. That is the store. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's small.
It's about the size of this room.
Yeah.
But they had a big thing, even more decals.
Right.
Like just was like a little basket. I was like grabbing decals. I'm like moving my hand here, like sweeping them off the thing. It was like
Yeah.
supermarket sweep because I was like I only had a limited amount of time. I would have hung out there way longer. I was kind of annoyed, but
Was June there himself?
no,
Okay.
both times missed him. But
Damn.
of course, they had the Hot Shot 2 signed on the shelf. I said, damn.
Right. Could have got it there.
Um,
It's all good.
but yeah, I grabbed a hat and a hoodie and all my
Bunch of
streetwear.
stuff for me. I appreciate.
So I mean, that was definitely, if you're going to Japan and you're into RC, you definitely want to go to the two Blockhead places.
Especially if you're into Tamaya RC. Like, that's really their thing. They do some Kyosho stuff too, but they're mostly into Tamaya stuff.
I don't know how you could be into RC and be into Japanese stuff and not be into Tamaya.
Some people aren't. Some people just hate on Tamaya stuff because it's not the fastest, it's not the newest, the best, the greatest. It's like feel good RC stuff. Like it's
Yeah, I don't care. I like
Yeah.
it. I like the scale of it.
Mhm.
I like the way it runs. Because of course, where we grew up here, we don't have a lot of tracks to run. You run in backyards and stuff, and that's
Yep.
what Tamaya is designed for.
right. Yeah, they're designed just to have fun with.
They have
less
some super
serious.
performance models that you
Sure.
can buy, but whatever.
We just want the toys.
Yeah, I'm sure if we grew up in Southern California where they had the headquarters and they had the track,
Yep. Be
Sure.
more into it.
yeah.
Actually, I just said that we just want the toys, but Blockhead very famously says, "Toy shop, we are not."
Yes, a lot of the hobby shops that's actually what they say, toy shop or not.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was funny. I think I talked about one time, one of the last company I was working for, we had an office in Foothill Ranch. It was actually close to the Tamaya
Sure.
headquarters. But
Yep.
again, another thing in Southern California we never tried to go to.
I forget it's there all the time.
Yeah, because
We-
I think that
You need to
track-
fly out.
That track moved, but I think they still have another track somewhere else.
You need to
in
fly out.
California.
We'll take a road trip. We'll go out there and we'll go to all these cool places.
Because there's way more. I remember in the back of RC Car Action, there's way more stuff in Southern California.
Oh, 100%.
We've talked
Actually-
about this before. We're like New England kids that should have been in Southern California.
I was deciding not that long ago, I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Radwood, LA this year,
Yeah.
the Radwood SoCal, and I'm going to go to the Tamaya place, and I'm going to go to the Moon Eye store, and I'm going to go back to Burbank House of Hobbies.
Yeah.
And then they just announced the date for Radwood SoCal, and they pushed it back to October, the same day as the Rising Sun Rally.
Oh.
So I guess I won't be doing that trip.
Guess not.
So maybe I'll go out for JCCS instead, because it is the 25th anniversary of JCCS.
Oh, yeah, it is. I saw that.
So
When is that? September?
no, July. It's always July.
No, it's not.
JCCS. Oh, sorry. It's always September.
Yeah.
You apply to be in it in July.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
like
but that's in
September,
September.
October the last couple times we went.
Correct.
One of the times we went, it was Halloween weekend.
Wait, it is October, not September. It's always in October. That's
Yeah.
what I'm screwing everything up royally here.
Yeah.
It's also in October,
Yeah.
so I'll go out for that. So
Yeah.
Toyota Fest is in July. That's in July, I think.
It's 20th anniversary. Maybe I'll go out there for it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm not gonna put a car in it, only because
It's in Long Beach again.
it's the Long Beach area. I wanted to put a car in it for the 25th, but you need to apply by July something.
Yeah.
And I don't have any cars that are like ready to drive to LA from Phoenix right now.
Yeah.
So I don't want to commit myself to something I can't get out there. So I'd love to be like, yeah, I'll bring a car for the 25th anniversary, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But I want to go spectate this year, especially because it's the anniversary,
Cool.
and do all the other stuff while I'm there. But it is October, and October is crazy because October is that and the Williams
Yeah,
Route
your
56
Williams
show and my rally and something else are all October. So it's just not a great time of year, but it is what it is. I'll make it happen.
Cool. Well, so yeah, that's all my hobby stuff from Japan.
Super cool trip, and as it's funny
And I will
because
reiterate, for customs purposes, I did not spend more than $1,000.
I would look at everything you purchased, and I would say you probably spent $999.99
Exactly.
on the dot. I will say that we're obviously an automotive podcast. We've obviously had a side podcast hustle of scale car stuff all the time.
Yeah.
We are more into real cars than scale cars because without real cars,
Am I?
scale cars wouldn't exist. But scale cars transcend our entire lifetimes. Like, it's what really got us into cars in the first place. Our fathers are both car guys. They have classic cars and do classic car things. We grew up around cars, mechanics, auto body, whatever. Both our fathers got us into scale cars as kids, and that's what really truly grew our passion for cars was scale cars. You hear a lot of car enthusiasts and car podcasts that people got into cars in high school when they were getting their
Yeah.
license and they were finding out about cars. Like, we were into cars. I'm not trying to say we're better than anybody. I'm just saying we were into cars our entire lives. We never... I don't want to say we weren't given a choice, but we weren't given a choice. We were just into cars because our families were into cars. But the scale car stuff is genuinely what got us to where we are between the scale cars and then the quality of Tamaya kits and Tamaya RC cars really built our passion for like the Japanese cars. And then that was solidified when Gran Turismo came out.
Yep.
And then after that, we got our licenses and we got Japanese cars and we got into that whole car culture. And I was jealous of you seeing all of the cool cars you saw in Japan,
Yep.
especially the 4x4 Starion. But the thing I was truly envious about was you going to Blockhead Motors and the Tamaya store, and because that's just,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's childhood whimsy, childhood
It was.
dreams. Like, it's just such a cool thing to have seen or done. Like, when I go to a good hobby shop here, I feel like I'm 10 years old on Christmas morning. Like, so much cool stuff, which is why we have a crushing amount of diecasts and model kits and RC cars, both of us.
Yeah.
Not because we're hoarders, maybe. Not because we're hoarders, but because we genuinely love this stuff. And, you know, could we live without it? Absolutely. Do we need to? Absolutely not. So, is it nerdy? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Do we care? Not one bit. It's what made us who we are. It's why we're into cars. So, I would go to Japan and be content to just go to scale car stuff. I wouldn't, obviously. I'd also go to real car stuff.
Yeah.
But there's just so much cool scale car stuff, and I've lived my entire life around scale car stuff. Like in my darkest days, in my darkest times, which were a few years ago, like what made me happier than going to the store and looking for that latest release of Hot Wheels? Like it was a way to take my mind off of real life. That's even as an adult. So this stuff is just, it's so cool that you went, and I am envious is the word, incredibly envious.
Well, that's like I like Tamiya's because I like the kit. I like to build.
100%. Ready to run RC cars? Lame.
Well, I have a couple like I bought for Marco for his birthday. The Team Losi monster truck. Sure, it's fun. It's super fun.
Yeah,
Like,
he
took it out of
smashed
the
into my
box.
toe. It felt real good.
Yeah.
Metal frame, 30 miles an hour, right in my toe.
So fast.
Yeah.
It's actually a really cool kit.
Let me make more details. I was also wearing flip flops because we had just been at the beach.
Yeah.
Super cool. Felt real good. Hurt for 2 days.
But
Thankfully, didn't break it.
building kits, way cooler. I'd rather.
And then when we build a ready to run or we buy a ready to run vehicle, we usually take it apart and change it because we want that kit aspect of an RC. I have obviously that Tamiya Grasshopper 2 that I built, and I enjoyed the building process so much. I've only run it like 3 times. Building it is so much fun. I love running it, but building it's really where it's at. And I want to build another one. And also, I don't have the yard space that you have to run the cars in the yard, so I have to go somewhere, which makes it slightly more inconvenient.
Bike to RC.
Bike to RC, yeah, exactly. I don't know if it racks my bike, though. How about car to RC?
Put it in your backpack.
I could do that, yeah. But nonetheless, like I said, I'm incredibly envious.
That's my next thing. If I could set up a group of people that were into biking and RC.
Well, that's what Jun Watanabe does out there in Japan. He
I
has
feel like
huge
that's what we
groups
need
together.
here.
It's so cool.
I was like, because it's not about racing them. You just like hang out and like run them around.
We actually just shipped my 2 old bicycles to Phoenix, which is very nice. Didn't know how you could do that, but Naomi is very aware of the bicycle world.
There you go.
So we called. You know what? I will plug them on this show because they're local here, and they were a great help, great friendly bike shop. North Shore Cycles in Lynn on Western Ave.
If you just said that to me, I would be like, that's a motorcycle shop.
Right. No, North Shore Cycles in Lynn on Western Ave, across from what used to be, was it Sunrise Subs? Anyway, it's
super niche, local.
Yes, very local. But if you're in that area, it's a super cool bike shop. They were super cool. They're taking the bicycles apart and they're boxing them in like bike boxes that bikes are delivered in, and they're giving them to this place called Bike Flight that ships bikes all over the country or all over the world. So it was like $100. Totally worth that for the service. And they were super cool, and they were super into the bikes. Because one is that like 1999 Stump Jumper. They were super into that, and the other one is a pre Walmart Mongoose. And I was like, yeah, it's a pre-Walmart Mongoose. He goes, yeah. He's like, this is cool. He goes, if it was a Walmart Mongoose, I'd tell you to throw it away and buy a new one. He goes, but this is a good bike. I was like, I know it is. That's why I'm shipping it. So they're both 25 to 30-year-old bikes, but they're mint because I owned them. And they were super stoked on it. So very cool bike shop. I'm excited to get those bikes to Phoenix to do some riding out there on those. So anyway, way off topic.
Well, I think it's a podcast.
I think so.
All right, so you can follow us, especially for scale stuff, Scale Autocast on Instagram. We are Auto Off Topic Podcast on Facebook, Auto Off Topic on Instagram and Threads. And here's Zord coming to tell us the podcast is over.
Yes. Last-minute entrance.
Yeah, so we are, I'm on Race Anger on Instagram and Threads, and sometimes on Blue Sky. And Brad, where can they find you?
Mostly on Instagram at TSISS350.
She's not purring.
Nope, we tried.
All right. As always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.